I've always been really passionate about education and education reform. I did some study about it in grad school, and I've been working now in and around education for about 3 years. And there's a lot of shit that's fucked up with our public school system. I don't have to tell anyone that's familiar with the public school system about the overcrowding and, some of the things that they teach or don't teach in the schools and teachers being fed up, et cetera, et cetera. But outside of those variables, there's a problem with the system itself of public education that I feel like we need to completely eradicate. So for one, public schools were designed not to necessarily teach your students or for people to learn, but for people to practice being ready for factories. Literally the construction of, having desks in a row and making people sit up straight and stuff like that. It was designed so that way the students would be prepared to sit in factories for long periods of time once they got out of school. That's real. There's this need to kind of punish students for not being able to sit still or be quiet. They're fucking kids. Kids don't want to be quiet. Kids are active. Kids are energetic. Of course they want to get up. Of course they want to speak. Of course they want to wild out. That's what kids do, and that's natural. And that's what it should be promoted. I mean, if you think about it, what CEO have you ever heard that was just giving a talk about a motivational speech about how they got to a place they were, and they were like, yeah, the way I did it is I followed rules, I was quiet, and I made sure not to make any fuss. Nobody. No one ever is going to encourage you to sit still and be quiet if you want to succeed. That's just not how it works. You're supposed to question, you're supposed to push, you're supposed to be able to have innovative ideas and imagination. That's how we create things. We have to solve problems. And so this whole idea that students who don't know how to do this are incapable, don't know how to succeed, will be failures in life, just makes no sense. And I know that there's gonna be some of you out there that are like, well, I went to public school and I became a success, so that doesn't really mean anything, and what you're saying, shut up. Because who I'm speaking to really, or what I'm speaking for, are the students who go to public school who don't have outside resources. And outside resources doesn't mean that you had a bunch of extracurriculars, you had a bunch of money and stuff like that. It can even be as simple as having parents who are exposing you to other things, who are encouraging you to do other things. A lot of these kids in schools, their parents can't be there for them in that way. Whether it be because they're immigrants and maybe they don't understand the language very well, or whether it be they themselves didn't get an education sufficient enough to be able to help students or be able to show them other things or alternative ideas. Or it can very well be that they just work all the time and they just can't be there to be that other resource for the students. So what I'm talking about is, if we are relying, for the students who rely on public education to be their only source of learning, of exploring, of growing in that sense, we are grossly underserving them. And that's what I'm speaking to. So now the whole thing is we're focusing on standardized testing. Testing is the name of the game. This is how we determine student success, how we determine where a student belongs, how we determine everything about the student now is centered around these fucking tests. And it's not hard to understand, or it shouldn't be hard to understand, that not everyone does well in taking tests. I have so many students who are brilliant, can tell you soliloquies about a particular topic, but they get anxiety when they take tests, or the questioning is a little bit off for them and they don't really understand what's going on, and so they fail, and it gives an unfair picture of who they are as students. And if you read any theoretical, theoretical text about education, about how we learn, how we understand things, it is understood that there are multiple forms of intelligence. Not everyone understands or learns in the same way. This is fact. This has been studied. This has been proven, right? And so the way that our education system is set up, it caters to one type of intelligence. It caters to people who are able to take tests, who are able to memorize well and able to give you things back. But there's so many people who don't learn in that way and don't understand in that way, or not as well as they do in other ways. Like there's kinesthetic intelligence, where movement is your thing. There's emotional intelligence, where you understand how people think and how they feel, and that's how you learn, that's how you understand, through feeling, through speaking to people. There are people who are visually intelligent, so words and doing all that, maybe not their thing, but if you show them pictures, they got it. And so if we're not catering to these different things, or if we're catering to one more than all the others, we are doing a true disservice to students, and we're not showing them the ways in which they can be brilliant. Every single person, every single student is brilliant, period. Every single one. It's a matter, the the purpose of education should be to show them ways and give them the space to figure out how they are brilliant and the ways in which they can take this brilliance and be successful. And so when I think about, especially with these standardized tests, or even, you know, the way the school system works now, a lot of these charter schools especially will do these things where there's these shame systems, right? So if you get things wrong, if you're constantly doing badly on tests or whatever the case may be, you're in the red, or you're a poor student, and it's like shown for everyone to see. And that is such a horrible practice for kids. The whole way that we learn is through mistakes. You make a mistake, you try to find a new way to go around it, to try to find a way to solve the problem. You keep working at it, and through that process is the learning. Not the right answer. The right answer is not the learning. Being able to give you a right answer does not mean I've learned shit. The process, knowing the process, understanding the process, understanding everything that went into it, that's what learning is. And so if every time a kid tries to attempt to understand something and they get it wrong, we're telling them, no, that's wrong, and we're shaming them, what does that tell them about learning? And what does that teach them about how we want to go through the world? They're of course not gonna be excited about school anymore. They're not gonna be wanting to learn. They're not gonna act out in class now because I don't have shit. I don't understand what's going on. You're not giving me any attention or acknowledging my presence and my brilliance as just a person. And so I'm gonna act out because there's nothing else I can do, and maybe at least I can get that kind of attention. At the very least, you'll see me then. These students aren't seen. If you're not succeeding, they're not seen. And that's not fair. Every single student should be seen. And every student should be seen as someone who is brilliant. And we're not approaching students in that way. And this is why we're having this massive problems and failures in schools. And this is not at all to say that the teachers are ever to blame for this, because in fact, a lot of teachers, despite this system, will find ways to move around it and still give your child the individual care that they need. Because at the end of the day, they spend more time with your child sometimes than you do, you know? And so they get to know them, they get to care for them. These babies become our babies. My 6th grade teacher, Mrs. Price, from El Dorado Elementary School, shout out to Beverly Price. Like, if anyone knows her, please let her know I'm looking for her, because I would love to hug her and tell her how much she has influenced my life, honestly. But we were reading, for the reading class, she knew that I was ahead of a lot of the other students, myself and like a group of other students. She knew that we were too advanced for what we were doing in class. And so she told us that we were gonna get separate books. She assigned us different books. And so in the 6th grade, I got to read Alex Haley's Roots, because she said that this is what you can handle. I think you can handle this book, and I think it would be important for you to read it. And to this day, it's one of my favorite books. It's one of the most pivotal books for my life. And she took that time to know me and to understand that I needed something different. And this is what teachers do every day, day in and day out. Like, not all teachers, unfortunately, because sometimes you just don't have the strength or the energy. Your classes are too big, you don't have the resources. But I guarantee you that they're trying to find ways to give their students everything they can. Understand that they do so much fucking work. Honestly, like, it is a lot that goes into it. Not only just time and effort, but emotional work. It's emotional work to see the pains of different students every day, to have to listen to their stories, to find ways to comfort them. This is a lot of fucking work. And so I fully believe that everyone that goes into this work believes in inspiring a child, believes in the future. There's a lot that fucking needs to change about the public education system, and there are so many wonderful people I know personally working to do this thing and working to get us to the space we need to be, and support that and find out what you can do and find out what's happening in your schools, because honestly, there's a lot more that needs to be done than you might think. So I'm hoping that this will inspire you to get out there, talk to legislators, talk to teachers, talk to your kids, and really find ways to support true education, because what we have now, it's not enough. So yeah.